Ravi had been walking since sunrise. His backpack felt heavier with each step, and his legs ached from climbing the uneven slopes of the mountain trail. He had started his journey 2 days ago, wanting to explore the high ridges before winter arrived. The air was thin and cold, and the wind carried the smell of rain. Dark clouds were gathering above the peaks. By midday, the first drops began to fall. They were cold and sharp, hitting his face and soaking his jacket. Ravi looked around for shelter, but the rocky path was exposed on both sides. The only cover he could see was further ahead where the mountainside curved inward. He pushed himself to move faster as the rain began to pour in sheets. The path turned slippery, and his boots slid on the wet stones. His breathing grew heavier, and his fingers were numb. Then, about 20 meters ahead, he spotted an opening in the side of the mountain. It was narrow at first, like a jagged mouth, but it seemed to lead deeper inside. The shadows within promised dryness and relief. Ravi stepped into the opening. The sound of the rain softened instantly, replaced by a quiet echo. The air inside was cooler, but dry. He leaned against the rough wall and wiped the water from his face. He could see only a short distance ahead, but the cave floor was even enough to walk on. He took a few steps deeper, letting his eyes adjust to the dim light. The entrance still let in a pale gray glow from outside, but further inside, the darkness thickened. He thought about lighting his small camping torch, but he hesitated. The cave seemed peaceful, and he did not want to disturb whatever might be living inside. As his breathing slowed, he noticed something unusual. Near the back of the cave, faint traces of light shimmered for a moment, as if something metallic had caught the little daylight. It was not the kind of reflection you would expect from rocks. Ravi frowned. It looked almost like a soft, bluish glow. He stepped closer, careful to make no loud sound. His boots crunched softly against grit and dust. The glow flickered again, this time lasting longer, enough for him to see a corner of the cave floor. That looked different from the rest. There were shapes scattered there, small and oddly smooth. Then he noticed something else. The ground between him and the glowing objects was marked with faint footprints. They were smaller than his own, and the shape was strange, almost too long and thin to belong to a human. They looked fresh, as if someone had walked there recently. A small shiver went through him. He had camped in many wild places before, but this was the first time he had found signs of someone, or something, living in such a remote spot. The nearest village was at least a day's walk away, and no one had told him about caves being used by travelers here. The wind howled outside for a moment, reminding him that the storm was not going to stop soon. Ravi thought about leaving, but the rain would make it impossible to travel far without risking a fall. The cave was the safest option for now, but he knew he had to be careful. He quietly placed his backpack down near the wall, close to the entrance, so he could reach it quickly if he needed to leave. From one of its side pockets, he took out a small torch. Covering most of the light with his hand to keep it dim, he pointed it toward the strange glow. The beam revealed more details. The glowing objects seemed to be arranged in a circle with a small metal device in the center. The device was smooth, silver-colored, and shaped like a flat disc with lines carved into it. The glow seemed to come from the lines themselves, fading in and out as if they were breathing. Suddenly, a soft sound came from the shadows beyond the circle. It was not the sound of water or wind. It was a quiet movement, like fabric brushing against stone. Ravi froze. His eyes darted toward the source of the sound. From the darkness, a figure stepped forward. It was small, maybe the height of a young teenager, but its outline was unlike any person Ravi had seen. The figure's skin was pale green, and it reflected the torchlight in a way that made it almost shine. Its head was slightly larger than a human's, and its silver eyes seemed to catch and hold the light. The figure wore a simple dark garment that covered most of its body. In its hands, it held a thin rod, not quite a stick, but something that looked like it could be a tool or a weapon. Ravi's first instinct was to step back toward the entrance, but the figure did not move closer. It simply stood there, watching him. Its face had no expression of anger or fear, only calm curiosity. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The only sounds were the soft rain outside and the quiet hum of the glowing device. Ravi felt his heartbeat slow just enough for him to think clearly. Whoever or whatever this was, it was not attacking. That was a good sign. He lowered his torch slightly so it would not shine directly into the figure's face. The figure tilted its head slightly as if studying him. Then, in a voice that was soft but clear, it spoke a few words. The language was strange, with gentle tones and flowing sounds that Ravi had never heard before. He could not understand, but the voice did not sound threatening. It was more like a question. Ravi swallowed and took a small step forward, careful, to move slowly. He raised his empty hands, palms open, hoping to show he meant no harm. The figure's silver eyes seemed to brighten for a moment. Then it stepped to the side, revealing more of the glowing circle. It gestured toward the dry ground beside it, as if inviting him to come closer. Ravi hesitated. The rain outside was still heavy, and leaving the cave would mean hours in the cold. Staying might be safer, or it might not. But something in the figure's calm manner told him that this was not a trap. He took a deep breath and stepped forward, crossing the line of footprints on the cave floor. Whatever this place was, and whoever this strange being was, he was about to find out. Ravi stepped carefully into the circle of dim light. The strange figure watched him closely, but did not raise its rod or make any move to stop him. The floor beneath his boots was smooth here, as if someone had polished the stone over time. The glowing device in the center pulsed with a steady rhythm. It was unlike anything Ravi had seen before. The lines carved into its surface gave off a soft blue light that brightened and faded like the beating of a heart. Around it were several small objects that seemed to be made of the same silver-like metal. They looked like tools, though he could not guess their use. The figure stepped forward, keeping a short distance between them. Now Ravi could see her more clearly. She was indeed young, perhaps the age of a human teenager, though her features were sharper and her eyes far larger. Her silver eyes seemed to reflect every flicker of light in the cave. Her green skin looked smooth, almost like polished stone. She spoke again in her flowing language. The words had a musical tone, but Ravi could not understand any of them. He shrugged gently and pointed to his ears, trying to show that he could not follow her speech. The girl tilted her head, studying him. Then she tapped the side of her wrist, and a small device unfolded from a thin bracelet she wore. It gave off a short sound like a soft chime. She spoke again, and this time the device repeated her words in clear, simple human language. I'm Nira. Who are you? The voice from the device asked. Ravi blinked in surprise. He pointed to himself. Ravi, he said slowly. Nira's lips curved slightly upward. It was not quite a smile, but it felt like one. Ravi, she repeated in her own voice, testing the sound. The device translated Ravi's next words as well. I was walking in the mountains. The rain started. I came here to rest. Nira glanced toward the cave entrance, where the rain was still falling in heavy sheets. The storm is strong. It will last many hours, she said. Ravi nodded. This is your home? She lowered her gaze for a moment. It is my shelter. My real home is far from here. Ravi wanted to ask more, but he could see the way her eyes dimmed slightly at the thought. He decided not to press her. Instead, he looked at the glowing device in the center of the circle. What is this? He asked. Nira knelt beside it, her slender fingers brushing gently over the metal. "It is a power core from my ship. Without it, my ship cannot fly. Without it, I cannot go home." Ravi crouched to see it better. "Is it broken?" She nodded once. "Some parts are damaged. I try to repair it. It takes time." A distant roll of thunder echoed through the mountains. The sound made the cave. Walls trembled slightly. Neera glanced toward the entrance again, then motioned for Ravi to follow her to a small space near the wall. There, a bundle of cloth and a small pile of flat stones surrounded a tiny fire. The fire gave off a warm, steady light and a faint scent of herbs. Above it, a metal pot hung from a hook. Neera took a seat on a flat rock and gestured for Ravi to do the same. From a small container, she poured out slices of something that looked like fruit. The slices were bright orange and glistened in the light. She offered some to him. Ravi hesitated for a moment, then took a piece. It was soft and sweet, unlike anything he had tasted before. He smiled. "This is good." Neera's expression softened again, perhaps pleased that he liked it. She took a piece for herself and ate quietly. For a few moments, the only sounds were the soft crackle of the fire and the distant rain. Ravi noticed that the inside of the cave was organized. Against the far wall, several cloth bags were neatly stacked. Beside them lay a folded blanket and what looked like a thin, sleeping mat. There were also strange tools, rods, discs, and thin sheets of metal arranged with care. This was not the rough shelter of a wanderer. It was the temporary home of someone who had been here for some time. After eating, Ravi pulled out his own pack and offered her some of his bread. Neera examined it curiously before taking a small bite. She nodded. "Not bad," she said through the translator. Ravi felt the tension between them ease slightly. He decided to ask, "How long have you been here?" She looked into the fire for a moment before answering. "Many cycles, since my ship fell from the sky. The storm that night was worse than this one. I landed here. My ship was damaged. My people cannot find me yet." "Cannot find you?" Ravi asked. "My signal is weak. I repair the core so I can send a strong call," she explained. Ravi leaned, back against the wall, thinking about what she had said. This girl was alone, far from her home, working each day to fix her only way back. He could not imagine what it must feel like. The rain outside grew heavier, and the wind pushed cold air into the cave. Neera added more small sticks to the fire. The blue glow from the power core still pulsed gently in the background. Ravi realized that despite the strangeness of the situation, he felt safe here. When the meal was done, Neera began working on one of her devices. She used a thin rod to adjust the inner parts of a small disc, moving with careful precision. Ravi watched, fascinated. "You know machines well," he said. "My people learn from a young age," she replied. "We travel among many stars. We must know how to fix our ships." Ravi smiled faintly. "I only know how to fix simple things. Tools, small engines." "Simple things are important," Neera said with a slight nod. Hours passed quietly. Ravi told her a little about his village, the mountains, and the rivers nearby. In return, Neera spoke of her world, where cities floated in the air and gardens hung from the sides of tall towers. She described a sky with 2 suns and nights lit by 3 moons. At some point, Ravi realized the storm had begun to fade. The sound of rain was softer now, though the air was still damp and cold. "You can leave when the storm stops," Neera said gently. "The path will be slippery but safe in daylight." Ravi looked at her for a moment. "I might stay a little longer if you do not mind. I can help with your repairs." Neera studied him, then gave a small nod. "Help is welcome," the glow of the power core reflected in her silver eyes. For the first time, Ravi thought he saw the beginning of trust between them. The rain outside had slowed to a steady patter, but Ravi stayed near the small fire in the cave. The warmth felt good after the long walk and the cold mountain air. Neera sat across from him, adjusting her translation device. The soft hum of the power core in the corner filled the silence between their words. Now that the translator was working, their exchange became easier. Ravi found himself curious about her life and the strange tools scattered around the cave. "How far is your home?" he asked. "Very far," Neera replied. "So far that you cannot reach it without a ship. It is in another part of the sky, beyond what you see at night." Ravi tried to picture it. "And you came here for—" "I was on a mission," she said, choosing her words carefully. "I search for minerals. My people need them for our technology. This world has some rare ones in the mountains." Ravi looked at the silver, disc-like device. "That is why you landed here?" "I did not plan to land here," Neera corrected. "I was in the sky, high above. My ship was hit by small rocks, very fast. They damaged the engine. I came down, here to avoid worse damage. But the landing was hard. The ship broke in many places." Ravi imagined being alone in a strange place with no way home. "And you have been here since?" "Yes," she said simply. A soft gust of wind blew into the cave. Ravi noticed that Neera had built a small wall of stones near the entrance to block the drafts. It was neat and sturdy. "You have made this place like a home," he said. Her silver eyes rested on the fire. "A home is not only walls. A home is people. I have no people here, so this is just shelter." Something about her voice made Ravi feel the weight of her loneliness. He had grown up in a small village where even a short walk in the hills meant passing familiar faces. The idea of months alone in the mountains was hard to imagine. He decided to shift the topic. "You said your ship needs repair. What is broken?" Neera moved to the glowing power core. "This is part of the problem. The energy system is damaged. Without enough power, the ship cannot lift from the ground. I also need to fix the navigation system. It is how I find my way through the stars." Ravi nodded slowly. "I do not know much about ships, but I can carry heavy things and help with tools." Neera looked at him for a moment. "Why would you help me? I am not from your world." "Because you are alone here," Ravi replied. "If I were in your place, I would want someone to help me." The translator repeated his words in her language. Neera's expression softened slightly, and she gave a short nod. "Then we work together." She handed him a small, flat metal sheet. "Hold this steady." Ravi took it, surprised at how light it was. It looked like polished steel, yet it weighed almost nothing. Neera used a thin rod to make precise marks on the sheet, cutting it into a shape that would fit into the power core's frame. She worked quickly, her long fingers moving with skill. While she worked, Ravi studied the inside of the power core. It was made of many layers, with glowing wires and smooth plates arranged like a puzzle. Some parts looked cracked, and a few wires were blackened at the ends. Neera noticed his interest. "These wires carry energy. The damage makes the flow weak. I must replace them with new ones." "Do you have new ones?" Ravi asked. "Some," she said. "Others I make from the materials I find here." Ravi raised an eyebrow. "From the mountains?" "Yes. Some stones here have metals I can use. I melt them with heat from my tools." It amazed Ravi how she could survive here, repairing her advanced technology with what she found in nature. When the piece was ready, Neera fitted it into the power core. The blue glow brightened for a moment, then settled into its slow, steady rhythm again. She seemed pleased. "That is better," she said. "It will take many more days to finish, but this is a good step." Ravi set the tools aside and leaned back. "You have patience. Patience keeps me alive," she replied. The fire had burned low, so Ravi stood and went to gather more wood from a pile near the entrance. Outside, the rain had almost stopped, but mist clung to the mountains. The air was cool and smelled fresh. From the cave entrance, he could see the valley far below. Streams ran down the slopes, shining in the weak light. The world felt calm after the storm. When he returned, Neera was looking at a small glowing map projected from one of her devices. Tiny points of light moved slowly across it. "What is that?" Ravi asked. "My star chart," she said. "It shows where my people might be. But the signal is too weak to call them." Ravi crouched beside her. "When you fix the power core, you can send the signal?" "Yes." "Then they will find me." She paused, then added, "I do not know how long it will take them to arrive. Space is very large." Ravi thought about that. Waiting for someone to come from another world could take weeks or months, maybe longer. He wondered if she could last that long alone. As evening came, the light outside faded, and the cave grew darker. Neera lit a small crystal lamp that filled the space with a soft white glow. The walls seemed to catch the light and reflect it, faintly giving the cave a strange, gentle brightness. They ate another simple meal, sharing what they had. Ravi offered her dried fruit from his pack, and she gave him more of the sweet orange slices from her supplies. When they were done, Neera sat quietly, adjusting her translation device again. The faint hum of the power core filled the background. "You will leave tomorrow?" she asked. Ravi hesitated. "I had planned to, but I think I should stay a little. You could use help. And I have no rush to return." She studied him for a moment, then nodded. "You may stay, but the mountains are dangerous. If you go outside, you must be careful." Ravi smiled faintly. "I have lived in the mountains all my life. I know how to be careful." "Good," she said. The fire crackled softly as they sat in the calm of the cave. For the first time since he had stepped into this strange place, Ravi felt a sense of purpose. Helping Neera might not be easy, but it was worth trying. Morning came quietly in the mountains. The storm had passed, leaving the air fresh and cool. Light from the rising sun touched the edges of the cave, but most of the inside remained in gentle shadow. Ravi woke first, stretching his stiff muscles, after sleeping on the ground. He glanced toward Neera's side of the cave. She was already awake, sitting cross-legged near the fire pit, polishing one of her tools. "Good morning," Ravi said softly. Neera looked up, her silver eyes catching the faint sunlight. "Good morning," she replied through the translator on her wrist. "The rain is gone. The air is clear today." Ravi walked to the entrance and looked out. The mountains glistened with drops of water, and streams of mist rose from the valleys. It was peaceful. When he returned to the fire pit, Neera was arranging several small metal dishes. Inside them were bright slices of fruit, a handful of round nuts, and a few pieces of dried food that looked like thin sheets. She gestured for him to sit. "This is from my world," she said. "I saved it for days when I need more strength. Today, we will share." Ravi smiled. "Then I will share mine too." He opened his backpack and brought out bread, a small pouch of honey, and some dried berries he had collected before the storm. Neera studied the bread with curiosity. She picked up a piece and held it between her fingers. "It is soft," she noted. "What is it made from?" "Grain," Ravi explained. "We grow it in the fields, grind it into flour, and bake it." She nodded, taking a small bite. Her translator repeated her reaction. "It is simple but warm." Ravi tried one of her thin food sheets. It dissolved quickly on his tongue, leaving a sweet, slightly spicy taste. "This is very light," he said. "It is made from plants on my world," Neera explained. "They grow in the water and take only a short time to harvest. We press them into these sheets for travel." As they ate, they talked about how food was made in their homes. Ravi told her about the rice paddies near his village, the orchards filled with apples, and the honey gathered from wild bees. Neera described floating gardens filled with silver leaf plants, towers where fruits grew in spirals, and fields that shone blue under the light of her world's two suns. The conversation was calm and steady. For the first time, Ravi felt they were no longer strangers sharing space, but two people learning about each other's lives. After the meal, Neera offered him a drink from a small silver container. The liquid inside was clear but gave off a faint scent like fresh flowers. Ravi took a sip. It was cool and refreshing, leaving a slight sweetness in his mouth. "This is from the mountains near my city," Neera said. "It is water, but the stones there give it a special taste. It is said to give strength for long work." Ravi nodded in approval. "It is good. Our mountain water is also clear and strong. My grandmother says it makes you live longer." Neera seemed amused. Perhaps our worlds are not so different. Once they finished eating, Ravi helped her clean the dishes. She used a small cloth that seemed to absorb every drop of moisture instantly. Ravi examined it, impressed. "This is not like our cloth," he said. "It is made from the fibers of a plant that grows near water," she explained. "It is light, but it can hold much water. It is easy to dry." Ravi thought about how useful such material could be in his village. When the cleaning was done, Neera returned to her power core to continue the repairs. Ravi decided to help by organizing the pile of wood near the entrance. As he worked, he kept glancing toward her. The way she handled her tools was careful but quick, and she seemed to know exactly which part to adjust without hesitation. After some time, she called him over. "I need you to hold this frame steady while I fix the inside," she said. Ravi crouched beside her and held the metal piece in place. She worked with the small rod, connecting thin wires and pressing them into the frame. Occasionally, the blue glow inside the core would brighten, then dim again. "This is delicate work," she explained. "One mistake and the whole system will shut down." Ravi stayed completely still, focusing on keeping the frame steady. Finally, she pulled her hands back and exhaled. "Good. This part is fixed." The blue glow brightened slightly and held steady. Neera allowed herself a small smile. "This means I can now send a stronger signal when the rest is ready." Ravi leaned back. "How much longer do you think it will take?" "Many days. Maybe weeks," she said. "But now, it is possible." They worked together until the sun was high outside. Then Neera suggested they take a short break. She led him toward the mouth of the cave, where the sunlight was now warm. From here, Ravi could see far across the valleys. Neera looked around, quietly, as if memorizing the view. "This world has beauty," she said, "even if it is not my home." Ravi nodded. "The mountains are peaceful, but they can be dangerous too." "I have seen the danger," Neera replied. "In the first days, I met creatures with many legs and strong claws. I had to hide in the cave until they passed." Ravi frowned. "Those are night hunters. They come out after storms." She glanced at him. "Then it is good you stayed here. The night hunters are fast." As the afternoon passed, they returned to the cave and prepared another small meal. This time, Ravi taught Neera how to warm bread over the fire without burning it, and she showed him how to use one of her tools to slice fruit so thin it was almost transparent. The fire crackled gently between them. Their movements were slower, now more comfortable, as if they had shared many meals before. Ravi noticed that Neera no longer kept her tools far from his reach. She had begun to trust him enough to let him handle some of them without asking. When the light outside began to fade, Neera lit her crystal lamp again. The blue glow from the power core and the white light from the crystal made the cave feel less like a hiding place and more like a small home. Before sleeping, Ravi asked, "Do you think your people will come soon?" Neera looked toward the glowing map she had shown him before. "I hope so, but even if they do not, I will continue. Giving up is not our way." Ravi nodded. "That is the same for us. If something is broken, we keep working until it is fixed." Neera gave a small smile. "Then we are not so different." That night, as the wind whispered outside the cave, Ravi felt a quiet sense of connection. They came from worlds far apart. But here in the mountains, they were simply two travelers sharing food, work, and the hope of finding a way forward. The morning air in the mountains was crisp and clean. Ravi woke early and stretched, feeling more at home in the cave than he had expected. Neera was already awake, kneeling by the small fire, her silver eyes reflecting the soft glow of the power core. She looked up as he approached. "Good morning," she said through the translator. "Good morning," Ravi replied. "The sky is clear today." "Yes," Neera agreed, "but the mountains have other dangers. We must stay alert." Ravi nodded. He had spent much of his life in these mountains and knew well how quickly calm could turn into danger. The storm from the previous days had passed, but the heavy rain had brought down rocks and stirred the rivers, making paths slippery and streams swollen. After a light breakfast of fruit and bread, Neera called Ravi over to help with one of her devices. The power core was steady now, but she needed to test a small device that could detect movement around the cave. Ravi watched as she adjusted it, her hands moving with practiced skill. "This device will warn us if something comes near," she explained. "There are creatures that hunt in these mountains, especially after storms." "Night hunters," Ravi said quietly. "They are fast and strong. I know how to stay away, but they will follow sound and smell." Neera nodded. "Then we work together. One protects, one observes." They spent the next few hours setting simple protective measures around the cave. Ravi moved stones to block paths that led to the entrance, while Neera used her device to create a faint energy field that could slow or alert any creature that tried to cross it. By midday, they paused to rest. Ravi glanced at Neera, noticing how focused she was. Her face showed concentration and care, not fear. He realized that despite being alone in a strange world, she had learned to survive. Suddenly, a soft rustling sound came from outside the cave. Both froze. Neera pointed toward the entrance, and the blue light of her device brightened slightly. Ravi could see faint shapes moving through the mist. "Night hunters," he whispered. "They are curious," Neera said. "We must be ready." Ravi nodded. He reached for a long wooden staff he had found near the entrance. It was simple, but strong enough to defend against small attackers. Neera held her rod tightly, a tool that could extend an energy pulse if needed. The shapes outside moved closer. Ravi peered through the cave mouth. He could see 4 of the creatures, their dark bodies blending with the rocks and mist. They had many legs and claws that gleamed under the weak sunlight. Their heads turned toward the cave, sensing the humans inside. "They will try to come inside," Ravi said quietly. Neera tapped her wrist device. A thin blue field appeared at the entrance, shimmering faintly. The creatures stopped, sniffing and pawing at the air. Ravi took a deep breath. "We hold them back together. You control the field. I guide them with the sticks and stones." Neera nodded. "Be careful. One wrong move, and they may rush us." The creatures moved closer again, testing the boundaries of the energy field. Ravi grabbed a handful of small stones and tossed them near the edges. The creatures leaped back, startled. Neera adjusted the energy field slightly, making it stronger at the point where the creatures tried to pass. Ravi noticed that the creatures were intelligent in their own way. They paused, observing both the humans and the field. Neera whispered, instructions to him through the translator, guiding his movements. You must stay calm. They feel fear and confidence, she said. Ravi nodded. He held his staff firmly, keeping his stance steady. The creatures tested again, approaching more, boldly. Ravi tapped the ground with his staff, creating vibrations that made the creatures hesitate. Neera extended her rod and sent a soft pulse of energy toward them. The creatures hissed but did not attack. Minutes passed like hours. Ravi and Neera worked in perfect coordination. Every movement, every sound, every adjustment was in sync. Slowly, the creatures lost interest and retreated back into the mist. When the last shape disappeared, Ravi exhaled. They are gone. Neera lowered her rod and allowed the energy field to fade. She looked at Ravi with a small smile. You are strong and careful. You did well. Ravi smiled back. I could not have done it without you. Your devices made it possible. For the first time, Ravi felt a strong sense of partnership. They were not just two beings sharing a shelter. They were a team, each supporting the other. The rest of the day passed more calmly. Ravi helped Neera organize the tools and materials in the cave, while she explained the functions of some of her more complicated devices. He listened closely, fascinated by the technology and the knowledge she carried. In return, Ravi showed her how to make simple traps from the stones and sticks outside the cave. These were not meant to harm, only to warn or guide creatures away from the entrance. Neera watched carefully, asking questions and testing his methods. By evening, the cave felt safer than ever before. The fire crackled in the center, and the soft glow of the power core filled the space with gentle blue light. Ravi and Neera sat near the fire, exhausted but satisfied. You are learning fast, Neera said. You understand the ways of these mountains, Ravi nodded. You are teaching me well. I feel safer with you here. A quiet moment passed as they watched the fire. Outside, the mountains were calm, and the mist had cleared. The danger of the day was over, but the memory of the creatures kept them alert. Neera tapped the side of her device. Tomorrow, we continue. Repairs! The signal must be ready. My people may come soon. Ravi looked at her. I want to help you. Even if it takes many days, I will stay. You should not do this alone. Her silver eyes softened. Thank you, Ravi. Trust is rare. You have given me that today. They shared a small meal before nightfall. Simple food, but comforting. Ravi found that working and eating alongside Neera had created a bond stronger than words. He realized that even though their worlds were different, cooperation and trust were the same everywhere. When they finally lay down to rest, the cave felt like a true refuge. The storms outside had passed. The danger had been managed, and a strong connection had formed between the two travelers. Ravi knew that tomorrow would bring more work, more challenges, but for the first time, he did not feel alone in the mountains. He closed his eyes, hearing the gentle hum of the power core and the soft breathing of Neera nearby. The bond they had formed was quiet but unbreakable, and it gave him a sense of hope that stretched far beyond the mountains. The morning sunlight filtered through the cave entrance, casting long shadows on the stone floor. Ravi awoke feeling refreshed but alert. Yesterday's encounter with the night hunters had reminded him of how unpredictable the mountains could be. Neera was already awake, kneeling beside the power core. Her silver eyes reflected the steady blue glow. Good morning, Ravi, she said through the translator. We must finish the preparations today. I feel the signal will soon be strong, enough to reach my people, but the device needs testing outside. Ravi nodded. I am ready. They began the day with a careful inspection of the energy field at the cave entrance. Neera adjusted her device, while Ravi checked the stones and traps he had set up the day before. Together, they moved with practiced precision. knowing that even small mistakes could allow the night hunters or other mountain creatures to enter. By late morning, the energy field was ready for a trial. Nira gestured for Ravi to step back while she activated it. A thin, shimmering barrier appeared, covering the cave's mouth. The field pulsed softly, creating a faint hum in the air. Ravi tested the edge carefully with a stick, and it stopped at the boundary without passing through. "It is stable," Nira said. "Good. But I need to test it further." Ravi glanced at her. "Outside?" "Yes." "A short distance from the cave," Nira explained. "We must see if it works under the open sky." They stepped out carefully. The mountains were quiet and still after the storm. Sunlight reflected off the wet rocks and streams, creating sparkling patterns. But as they moved further from the cave, Ravi noticed movement in the mist below the valley. Dark shapes slipped between the rocks and trees. "Creatures," Ravi whispered. Nira nodded. "We cannot be careless. Stay close." They moved slowly, keeping their eyes on the shadows. Ravi carried a staff, and Nira held her rod, ready to activate the field if necessary. The creatures below seemed to sense them, but did not approach immediately. They were patient and curious, watching from a distance. Nira stopped and set down a small device. It hummed softly and projected a low pulse into the ground. "This will alert us if anything approaches," she said. Ravi looked at the shapes. 4 of the night hunters crept closer, testing the ground with long legs. Ravi gripped his staff, ready to strike if needed, while Nira focused on the device. Suddenly, one creature jumped toward them. The energy field activated automatically, stopping it in midair. The creature hissed and recoiled, slipping back toward the others. Ravi and Nira moved closer together, adjusting the stones and energy pulse. "Careful," Nira whispered. "They learn quickly." Ravi held a small rock and tossed it near the edge of the field. The creatures jumped back again. Nira extended her rod and sent a soft pulse that glowed briefly in the air. One of the hunters tried to leap through, but the pulse pushed it back. Minutes passed, and the creatures became cautious. Ravi realized that their teamwork was what kept them safe. Nira's technology created barriers, but Ravi's knowledge of the terrain and the creatures' behavior guided their movements. After some time, the creatures retreated, disappearing into the mist. Ravi and Nira let out quiet breaths, relieved, but alert. "We must continue repairs," Nira said. "Danger is not gone, but we are prepared." They returned to the cave and worked side by side. Ravi helped Nira adjust the wiring in the power core, carefully following her instructions. She showed him how to connect the delicate wires, explaining the flow of energy and how each part contributed to the system. As they worked, Ravi asked, "Your people? Will they really come if the signal is strong enough?" Nira paused. "Yes. They travel far, but they will find me. That is why the signal must be clear." Ravi nodded. "Then we must make sure nothing goes wrong." Hours passed. Sweat formed on Ravi's forehead as he tightened connections and handled small components. Nira worked with focused precision, testing each adjustment. The cave was quiet except for the soft hum of the core and the occasional tap of tools. By late afternoon, the power core was ready. Nira activated it, and a beam of light projected from the small device toward the sky. Ravi watched as the blue light pulsed and then stabilized. "It works," Nira said softly, relief in her voice. "Now, my people will know where I am." Ravi smiled. "That is wonderful. You will see them soon." Nira's silver eyes reflected both hope and concern. "Yes, but we must still be careful. The mountains do not forgive mistakes." Just then, a shadow passed across the cave entrance. Ravi turned quickly, gripping his staff. Outside, a large creature with 6 legs and long claws had come close. It growled softly, testing the boundaries of the energy field. Nira activated. her rod, sending a pulse of light toward it. The creature hissed and jumped back, but it circled around, looking for another way in. Ravi and Neera moved together, adjusting stones and the energy field to block the paths. The creature paused, watching them, then suddenly leapt forward with surprising speed. Ravi struck the ground with his staff, creating a vibration that startled the creature. Neera sent another pulse from her rod, and the creature skidded back, slipping on the wet stone. The fight was tense but brief. The creature, realizing it could not get through the barrier, retreated into the mist with a low growl. Ravi and Neera exhaled together, their relief mingled with adrenaline. "You were brave," Neera said, looking at Ravi. "You too," he replied. "We did this together." They spent the rest of the afternoon reinforcing the cave's entrance, making the traps and energy field stronger. Ravi arranged stones to guide creatures away, while Neera tested the energy pulses and adjusted the device for maximum coverage. By evening, the cave felt safe again. They shared a quiet meal, tired but satisfied. Ravi realized how much he trusted Neera now, and he saw in her eyes the same trust toward him. They had faced danger together and had protected each other without hesitation. Before sleeping, Ravi asked, "Do you think your people will come soon?" Neera looked toward the ceiling of the cave, where the last light of day reflected off the walls. "I hope so. They are traveling toward the signal. Soon we will not be alone." Ravi nodded. "Until then, we are ready. Together." The cave was quiet now. The soft hum of the power core and the glow of the devices filled the space with a calm energy. Ravi felt a strong sense of accomplishment. He and Neera had faced real danger, survived it, and learned to rely on each other completely. As he lay down to rest, he knew that the coming days might bring new challenges. But for the first time in this strange, wild mountain, he felt completely confident. Together, they could face anything that came. The next morning, the mountains were calm and bright. Sunlight spilled across the wet rocks, creating reflections in the streams below. Ravi woke early, stretching and listening to the quiet. He could hear the soft hum of the power core and the gentle breathing of Neera nearby. "Ravi," Neera said, her voice steady through the translator. "Today we will know if the signal reached my people. The journey has been long, but the message is strong." Ravi nodded. "I hope they come soon. You have been alone for many cycles." "Yes," Neera said softly, "but your help made the time easier. Together, we faced dangers and repaired what was broken. I am grateful." They finished a simple breakfast of fruit and bread, then moved outside to inspect the area around the cave. The traps and energy field were still strong, and the mountains seemed peaceful. Ravi adjusted some stones near the edge of the path, while Neera tested the energy pulses to ensure no creature could enter unnoticed. Suddenly, the sky above the valley shimmered with movement. Ravi squinted, seeing small points of light descending from the far horizon. At first they looked like stars, but as they grew closer, it became clear they were ships, moving with smooth precision toward the mountains. "My people," Neera whispered, her silver eyes wide with emotion. "They have come." Ravi stepped, closer, amazed. "I can't believe it. You will go home soon." The ships hovered above the cave, shining with soft light. One of them lowered, its surface gleaming like polished metal. A ramp extended to the ground and figures began to descend. They were taller than humans, with elegant forms and glowing eyes. Ravi could feel their energy, calm but powerful, and he understood that these were the people Neera had spoken of. Neera stepped forward, her rod in hand, though she did not need it. Her people approached, their movements graceful and precise. One of them extended a hand toward her, and she placed her own in return. The translator repeated their words. "We received your signal. We are here." Neera smiled, a genuine expression of relief and joy. She turned to Ravi. I would not have survived alone without you. You gave me strength. Ravi felt a warmth in his chest. You helped me too. I have learned so much from you. Your world is incredible. The tallest of Neera's people nodded toward Ravi. He is brave and wise. He aided our traveler. He has our respect. Ravi felt proud. Even though he was only human, he had made a difference. The mountains, the creatures, the storms, all had been challenges he had faced with Neera. Neera stepped onto the ramp of the ship. She turned back one last time. Ravi, you are my friend. Perhaps one day you will see my world. Ravi waved. I would like that very much. The ships began to lift from the ground. The blue light of the power core pulsed one last time as the energy settled. Ravi watched as they rose into the sky, shimmering in the sunlight. Then they vanished beyond the mountains, heading toward distant stars. For a long moment, the cave was quiet. Ravi stood near the entrance, feeling the wind and the warmth of the sun. He looked around at the place where he and Neera had worked so hard. The stone walls, the organized tools, the glowing core, all reminded him of the days they had shared. He thought about the lessons he had learned: patience, courage, and trust. He had faced real danger and had survived it with someone from a world far beyond his imagination. Together, they had repaired what was broken and protected each other from threats. Ravi began walking down the mountain path toward his village. The sun warmed his face, and the streams reflected gold and silver. The mountains were quiet now, but he knew their memory would stay with him forever. When he reached the first valley, he saw familiar sights: trees, fields, and small paths leading to homes. The smell of earth and grass welcomed him back. But he was not the same as before. The mountains, the cave, and Neera's presence had changed him. He felt stronger, wiser, and full of hope. Back in the village, Ravi shared his story. People listened in wonder, amazed by the tale of the alien traveler, the glowing power core, and the creatures of the mountains. They marveled at his courage and at the friendship he had formed with someone from another world. Even though Neera was gone, Ravi felt her presence in every memory, her careful hands working on the core, her silver eyes watching the night hunters, and her calm voice guiding him during danger. He knew that their bond was special, one that crossed the boundaries of worlds. As the days passed, Ravi continued to help others in the village, sharing lessons from his experience. He taught patience when repairing tools, careful observation when facing danger, and the value of teamwork. He spoke of trust and friendship, showing that courage was not only about strength, but about helping and supporting others. At night, Ravi often looked at the sky. Sometimes he imagined Neera traveling among the stars, her ships moving with grace and purpose. He pictured her reaching her home, surrounded by her people, finally safe. A smile always came to his face. He knew that the bond they shared, formed in a cave high in the mountains, had changed both of their lives forever. Weeks later, Ravi received a strange signal in the forest near his village. It was a soft, glowing pulse, unlike any technology he had seen. He followed it to a small clearing and found a device similar to Neera's, left behind as a gift. The translator activated and spoke in Neera's voice. Ravi, friend, you helped me when I was alone. I leave this so we may remember. One day, perhaps, you will visit my world. Ravi smiled, holding the device close. He felt a connection across the vast distance of space. The mountains, the cave, and Neera's friendship had taught him that courage, trust, and kindness could bridge worlds. And in that moment, Ravi knew that humanity's spirit, their willingness to help, to endure, and to trust, was truly universal. Even in the farthest reaches of the stars, friendship and courage would always shine. With the sun setting behind the mountains, Ravi walked home. His heart was light, his mind full of hope, and his spirit ready for whatever adventures awaited next. The world felt larger and more wonderful than he had ever imagined, and he carried with him the lesson that together, even the most unlikely friends could overcome any challenge.